Love is supposed to feel like home, like a fire burning steady in the heart. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you feel the cold before you see the storm. You sense the distance before the words give it away. You notice the little shifts, the laughs that don't reach the eyes, the touches that feel hollow, the energy that drifts somewhere else. And your heart whispers a truth your mind is scared to face. And that fear, it's real, it's raw, it cuts deeper than betrayal ever could, because it's wrapped in the people you trusted most, the ones you gave pieces of your soul to. You ever sit across from someone and feel the space between you grow, even though they're right there? That's the weight of hidden truths, the silent cracks in love, the subtle signs that scream louder than any confession. And the hardest part is knowing your heart sees it, even when your mind tries to look away. But ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. Feeling it, understanding it, owning it, that's the only way to protect your heart, to stand in your truth, to see what's real and what's borrowed. Tonight, we're going to uncover the signs, the patterns, the whispers your soul already knows, so you don't have to be blind to the truth anymore. Energy changes before the truth ever shows its face. A person's spirit starts speaking long before their mouth opens. You can feel it in the way the room shifts when they walk in the way their presence doesn't warm you like it used to. It's like loving someone whose soul is slowly slipping out of your hands. And the cruel part, they won't say a word. They'll smile the same smile, speak the same words, but the meaning behind everything is different. You can hear the silence in their eyes. You can feel the distance in their breath. People think heartbreak happens when someone leaves, but sometimes the real heartbreak is when they stay physically and leave emotionally. You ever sit beside someone who used to feel familiar, but now they feel like a stranger? Their touch doesn't hit the same. Their laughter feels forced. Their attention feels borrowed, like they gave the best parts of themselves to someone else hours before they showed up with you. And you're left wondering what changed, even though you already know deep down. Humans pick up on emotional shifts the way a mother hears her baby cry in a crowded room. We notice the drop in tone, the hesitation in their voice, the way their body feels colder, even when they say nothing's wrong. You try brushing it off the first time, telling yourself you're overthinking. But overthinking feels different from knowing. Overthinking feels like fear. Knowing feels like weight. And this is weight, heavy, uncomfortable, sitting in your chest like a truth begging to be acknowledged. There was a time they looked at you like you were the center of their world. Now their eyes wander. They seem distracted, like they're replaying conversations you were never a part of. You ask how their day was, and instead of sharing like they used to, they give you short, dry answers. It was fine, just busy, nothing much. You feel the wall rising brick by brick, not arguments, not anger, just distance. Quiet, dangerous distance. And you can't help but ask yourself why. What changed? You check yourself. You wonder if you did something wrong. That's what the heart does. It turns pain inward. But the truth is, you didn't break anything. When someone's energy shifts like that, it's because something or someone has shaken their loyalty, their focus, their desire. A person who is loyal carries a certain softness in their presence. Their love flows without hesitation. Their words are consistent. Their touch feels anchored. But when someone starts giving their emotional energy to someone else, their whole spirit becomes divided. They can't fake connection. They can fake words, fake routines, fake smiles, but energy, that's the one thing humans can't hide. You notice it when they hold their phone tighter, when they forget little things they used to remember so effortlessly, when they stop noticing you the way they used to, when their hugs get shorter and their replies take longer and your conversations feel like you're talking through a glass wall. It hurts because you remember what it felt like before. When they were present, when they were invested, when they chose you freely and fully. And now you're standing in the same place with the same person, but the love feels half alive. It's like dancing with a ghost. The craziest part, they might not even realize how obvious it is. They think they're hiding it. They think the world can't see what their heart is doing. But emotional betrayal is loud to the one it affects. You can't hide guilt from someone who loves you. You can't hide distance from someone who's connected to your soul. So when you feel that shift, when their energy changes before their words do, don't ignore it. Your intuition isn't lying to you. It's protecting you. It's preparing you. And it's telling you that something sacred has been touched, and it wasn't by you. Patterns don't lie. A person can switch their tone, change their story, even force a smile, but patterns have a way of revealing the truth without saying a single word. See, when someone is faithful, their life moves in a rhythm, a certain consistency that feels safe. You don't have to guess. You don't have to chase. But when they start giving themselves to someone else, that rhythm breaks. Everything starts to feel uneven, unpredictable. And it's not loud at first, it's quiet. Quiet enough for them to think you won't notice. But you do. You always do. It starts with routines shifting. The calls that used to come like clockwork suddenly get forgotten. The goodnight texts that were once warm and effortless turn into dry one-word answers or disappear altogether. They start leaving earlier and coming back later. And when you ask why, they give excuses that fall apart the moment you look at them too closely. I was busy, or my phone died. I didn't see your text. Lies always sound simple because the truth behind them is complicated. You ever watch someone try to rewrite their habits overnight? It's almost painful. They think switching up their schedule will hide what they're doing, but instead it exposes them more. They become jumpy. They start giving unnecessary details, trying to over-explain simple things. Or worse, they get defensive over questions that used to be normal. You ask, where were you? And suddenly they act like you accused them of a crime. That's not guilt-free behavior. That's the behavior of someone trying to protect a secret. Their time becomes something you have to fight for instead of something they offered freely. They're suddenly busy with things they never cared about before. They start hanging out with friends whose names they can barely keep straight. Their stories change. Their timelines don't match. They forget pieces of the lie they told yesterday. And you're left sitting there watching someone try to juggle two worlds, hoping you're too blind or too loyal to notice the shift. But your heart keeps record of these patterns even when your mind tries to push them aside. You notice when they stop including you in their day. When they don't update you, don't check on you, don't care if you ate or if you're okay. That's the energy of someone whose emotional presence has been rerouted elsewhere. Someone who's giving emotional intimacy to another person. And here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Cheating doesn't start in the body. It starts in the routine. It starts with attention, with time, with curiosity, with conversation, with the smallest shift in behavior that grows bigger every day until it becomes too heavy to hide. You can feel the distance not because they're gone, but because they're giving the best parts of themselves to someone else. And you're left with whatever is left over. Their time becomes crumbs. Their presence becomes shadows. Their voice loses warmth. Their laughter loses honesty. Everything becomes filtered through guilt and distraction. I once knew a woman who told me she knew her man was cheating before she ever found a message or a number. She said, he stopped looking me in the eyes when he talked. His spirit wasn't with me anymore. And she was right. You don't need evidence when someone's daily actions betray them louder than their words ever could. This is why patterns matter. Because love is consistent, loyalty is consistent. But betrayal always disrupts the flow. Always. If you feel the routine changing, if you feel someone pulling back while pretending nothing's wrong, trust that. Humans don't drift for no reason. They drift when they've already anchored themselves somewhere else. Arguments start small, almost unnoticeable. A word here, a tone there, and you brush it off. But over time, those small sparks ignite storms. And sometimes when someone's hiding the truth, they start these storms not because they're angry at you, but because they need space to breathe away from guilt. You ever notice how some fights feel unnecessary, like the tension doesn't belong to either of you, but is just floating between you, heavy and suffocating? That's the energy of someone trying to pull back emotionally without admitting it. They create friction so they can justify distance. They turn love into conflict so they can sneak away in the chaos. There's something human about this. Guilt is loud, it's heavy, it wants release. When someone carries the weight of a secret, it shows up in their behavior. They start picking at things they never cared about before. They twist your words. They remember every little flaw, magnify it, and make it into a fight. And you wonder why they suddenly act so different, why the home that felt safe is now filled with tension. You don't realize it yet, but this is a warning. This is the first whisper of something deeper, something hidden. Somebody I knew once told me, I realized he was hiding something when every conversation felt like a war. We weren't talking anymore, we were battling. That's the truth. Love is supposed to feel like home, not like a battlefield. And yet, emotional withdrawal mixed with conflict is a common way for someone to cover their tracks. They push you away under the guise of anger, not because they want to hurt you, but because they need emotional room for someone else. And the cruelest part, you still want to fix it. You still want to fight for them. But what you're fighting for isn't always loyalty. It's the last pieces of their attention they can spare. Psychologists say that creating unnecessary conflict is a subconscious tactic for emotional cheating. Your brain wants to rationalize the guilt. Your heart wants space to explore connections it can't admit to. And your partner, they don't even know they're doing it consciously half the time. It's instinct. It's survival. It's protecting the fantasy while trying not to destroy the reality in front of them. But you feel it. You always feel it. There's a subtle shift in tone, the way they look at you, the impatience in their speech. And if you listen closely, you can hear it in the spaces between words, the unsaid, the hidden, the heavy air that never existed before. Some fights are easy to forgive. Some mistakes are easy to let slide. But these manufactured storms, they eat at your soul. They make you doubt yourself. They make you question your worth. And that's exactly why they work for someone trying to keep another person in their life without you knowing. They create chaos as a shield, a smokescreen, a distraction. You notice the little patterns? They argue more after coming home late. They snap at questions about their day. They get defensive when you ask where they were. These are the fingerprints of someone whose loyalty is stretched thin. It's not always about sex. It's about giving pieces of their mind and heart to another connection while testing if you notice, or if you'll fall into the trap of anger instead of clarity. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. When someone is emotionally hiding, fights become easier than truth. Lies take effort. Distance is safer than confrontation. And arguments, they give the illusion of control like a smokescreen over the betrayal that's already happening behind closed doors. You feel it in your chest before your brain even catches up, because hearts see what eyes try to hide. So when the words start cutting sharper than the love you've shared, when small disagreements turn into storms for no reason, trust that your intuition is screaming. That's the signal. That's the sign. And if you can feel it, you're already one step closer to the truth. Trust doesn't break overnight. It doesn't snap in a second. It erodes slowly, quietly, like water dripping on stone, wearing away at what was once solid and unshakable. You ever love someone so much that you never question them, that you believe their word without hesitation? And then one day, you notice the small things, the evasive answers, the hesitation in their voice, the way they avoid looking you in the eye. It doesn't scream betrayal at first. It whispers, a whisper that grows louder every day until your chest feels heavier than the night itself. That whisper, that's your heart telling you something is off. That whisper, that's trust cracking. People forget the power of consistency. The way someone carries themselves day after day, how they talk, how they touch, how they show up. When someone's heart belongs to another, their consistency with you fades. They forget details they once remembered. They don't check in like they used to. They start leaving rooms or conversations abruptly, as if pulled by a force invisible to you. And you begin to notice the subtle absence, the hollow spaces where attention and affection used to live. That absence isn't an accident, it's a reflection of where their energy has gone. I knew a woman once who said she felt her partner slipping away before she ever saw a text or a call. She said it was in the way he stopped noticing the little things. The way he forgot my favorite song, the way he didn't ask how my day went. I felt the love leaving before he even spoke. That's the truth. You can feel what isn't said louder than what is spoken. Our hearts recognize absence before our eyes catch. Loyalty and love are loud. Betrayal and distraction are quiet. but heavy like gravity. You notice the weight in your chest before your brain understands why. And then there's the way they hold their phone. The way their hands linger on the screen longer than necessary. The way notifications become sacred, private, untouchable. It's funny how technology exposes what words hide. You see the slight tension in their body when they get a call or message. You notice the little smile that isn't meant for you. You feel the warmth missing from conversations that once felt like home. You begin to understand that they're present in the same room, but their mind, their energy, their heart, somewhere else. Even intimacy changes. It's not always dramatic, not always obvious. The hugs become shorter, the kisses lighter, the passion fleeting. And when you ask, they reassure you with words that feel empty because actions betray them. There's a void where attention and desire once lived, and you can't help but notice. You can't help but question. You can't help but feeling. And that feeling is truth wearing the skin of emotion. Some try to mask it. They act more attentive in certain moments, give gifts, smile, laugh, but it's calculated like a shadow of what once was. They're giving the illusion of care while the substance is gone. Your intuition screams, but you try to silence it because love doesn't like to confront betrayal. Love wants to believe. Love wants to hope. But hope alone doesn't bring back the energy they've given elsewhere. Hope alone can't fill the spaces left by someone whose heart is divided. And here's the hard part. Even if they haven't physically left, their emotional absence can hurt worse than any departure. You're left holding on to memories of a love that once existed in fullness, trying to reconcile them with the fragments that remain. That's the weight of watching trust erode silently, day by day. And it's brutal because you don't always see the signs until the cracks are too wide to ignore. The heart always knows. The body always feels. The soul always notices. If you're paying attention, if you're awake, you see it before you ever need proof. That's the danger and the beauty of intuition. It doesn't need evidence to feel truth. Secrets have a way of weighing heavy on a soul. You can't see them, but you feel them. You can't touch them, but they touch you. There's a weight that grows in the spaces between words when someone carries a truth they don't want you to know. You ever been with someone whose eyes flicker at the wrong moment? Whose tone changes when certain topics come up? That's not coincidence. That's a heart trying to protect what it shouldn't have. A soul trying to hide what it knows you'd feel if you ever saw the truth. And the cruel part is love doesn't guard against this kind of pain. It amplifies it. The more you care, the deeper the wound when you sense that the love you're giving is no longer complete. Emotional distance shows itself slowly. At first, it's subtle, almost invisible. Maybe they don't laugh at your jokes the way they used to, or they seem distracted when you're talking. Maybe they're touching their phone a lot more, checking messages you're not meant to see. Maybe they forget small details or give you vague answers when you ask about their day. You might tell yourself it's stress, it's work, it's fatigue. And for a minute, maybe that's true. But eventually the pattern emerges. Repetition doesn't lie. Habits don't lie. Even the smallest changes speak louder than the grandest gestures ever could. I knew a man once who said he noticed it in the rhythm of his woman's life. She started leaving later, coming home later, smiling at her phone more than at him. He said, it wasn't the big things that gave her away, it was the small ones. The little shifts that didn't match the person I loved. That's the truth. Humans communicate with energy as much as with words. When someone's heart belongs somewhere else, their energy leaks into the space it used to share with you. It's subtle at first, but if you pay attention, you feel it deep in your chest, like a storm brewing in slow motion. The quiet moments reveal everything. When you sit across from someone who is divided, you feel the tension, the hesitation, the unspoken stories behind their eyes. You want to believe it's nothing, that your love is enough, that the bond you built will hold. But love alone doesn't guard against divided attention. Desire alone doesn't fill spaces left by emotional withdrawal. And trust becomes fragile when it's built on fragments of honesty instead of full transparency. They'll try to cover with words, with actions, with distractions. They'll buy you gifts, laugh a little louder, hug a little tighter. But gifts and gestures can't fix what isn't there. They can't replace attention. They can't substitute presence. They can't fill a heart that's already stretched across two worlds. And your intuition knows this. Your soul knows this. Even if your mind tries to rationalize, your heart feels the distance and whispers the truth you're not ready to admit. Some try to justify it. I'm tired. It's nothing. I'm just stressed. But the energy doesn't lie. The patterns don't lie. You notice the empty spaces between words, the pauses that last too long, the attention given somewhere else. And that's when you realize the battle isn't about evidence. It's about energy. It's about where their heart lies and whether your love is still enough to anchor it. When love is fractured by hidden truths, you feel it in your bones. You feel it in the way mornings are colder, conversations are shorter, and laughter is lighter. That's the weight of secrecy. That's the gravity of emotional betrayal. That's the whisper of truth before the storm hits. And if you're paying attention, if you're awake, you can see it before it's too late, because the heart always knows. The lies never start with the big ones. They start small, soft, hidden between the cracks of everyday life. A forgotten message, a small white lie, a promise not kept, but repeated over and over until the weight of dishonesty grows heavy enough to crush the trust you built. You ever notice how someone starts to avoid questions without giving answers? How their eyes dart to the side, their voice softens, their story just shifts. That's not just nervousness. That's guilt living in the body, trying to hide from the one person that knows it will hurt the most. And the tragedy is, love often blinds us to these signs because we want to believe in the person we fell for more than the truth our hearts are screaming at us. When someone is hiding, their schedule changes. Their attention changes. Things that were once priorities slowly become unimportant. Calls that came naturally now require effort. Texts once sent with warmth become absent or delayed. They're holding on to something else, maybe not even consciously at first, but the energy is leaking through. You feel it. You feel the absence of the emotional intimacy that used to be freely given, replaced now with hesitation, avoidance, and invisible walls. I knew a man once who told me he felt it in the silence before words. She'd enter the room, sit next to him, and though she was physically there, he felt a wall between them. He said, it was like loving a ghost. She was with me, but not with me. That's the core of hidden betrayal. The presence is there, but the heart isn't. The attention, the care, the connection, all fragments of what it used to be, scattered and distant. And when the heart pulls away, the body often follows, not always in the way we think, but in the energy given, the laughter shared, the touch felt, the honesty spoken. People think cheating is just physical, but it's often emotional first. The emotional affair starts subtly, a new friend, a secret conversation, a connection outside your shared world. Your intuition feels it before your eyes see it. You notice the little pauses, the sudden defensiveness, the unexplained absences. And you can't put your finger on it yet because the lie is soft, wrapped in kindness, wrapped in explanations that sound real. But patterns don't lie. Habits don't lie. The energy they give elsewhere leaves cracks you can't ignore. And here's the painful truth, even if they never physically leave, their attention has been rented to another. You're left with pieces of what you thought was whole, and your soul knows it. The silence between sentences, the absence of curiosity about your day, the fading warmth in their eyes, all of it is louder than any apology ever could be. Even if they say, I love you, the love feels borrowed, half-hearted, fragmented. Your heart notices, your body notices, your soul never forgets. Some people can hide it for a long time, and some never notice until it's too late. But if you pay attention, you see the cracks before the collapse. You see the hesitation, the distance, the extra effort to hide the truth. And it hurts because love wants honesty, wants presence, wants connection. Love doesn't want fragments. Love wants the whole heart, undivided, true, consistent. And when that consistency disappears, the signs are there, small, subtle, persistent, if you're awake enough to feel them. Trust is fragile. And once it starts cracking under the weight of hidden attention, it can't be ignored. Your body senses it. Your mind questions it. Your soul mourns it. That's the weight of someone hiding pieces of themselves in a world that demands full presence. And if you listen, if you watch, if you feel, You see the truth even before they say a word. The last sign, the one that hits hardest, is the energy they bring home. Energy is invisible, but it carries everything. The emotions, the intentions, the hidden stories. You can feel it before you see it. You can hear it in the tone of their voice, the weight of their steps, the tension in their shoulders. When someone is giving pieces of themselves somewhere else, it doesn't matter how much they say, "I'm fine," or "it's nothing." The energy betrays them. It whispers the truth louder than any confession ever could. You notice it because your soul recognizes the imbalance. Your body remembers what it feels like to be fully seen and loved. And when that energy shifts, you feel the loss deep inside. You ever been with someone who's physically present, but emotionally elsewhere? They laugh, but it doesn't reach their eyes. They touch, but it's perfunctory, lacking the warmth and intention it used to hold. Even their smiles feel like practice, rehearsed for a moment that isn't real. That's the energy of divided attention, and it's the hardest thing to confront because it's not obvious in words, not written in text, not caught in moments of absence. It's felt in every interaction, every silence, every breath shared in a room that feels smaller than it used to. I remember a story from a friend who said she knew he was slipping away before she even saw proof. She said it was the little things, the way he carried himself, the way he laughed at other people's jokes but not mine, the way his attention wandered even when he was sitting right next to me. That's the truth. Love isn't just physical presence. Love is energy, attention, focus, intention. When someone's energy is being spent elsewhere, their heart isn't lying. It's speaking a language you can feel but can't always decode. Sometimes people think signs are obvious, like late nights, mysterious texts, or flirtations. But energy is subtler. It's in the vibe, the atmosphere, the way a room feels when they walk in. It's heavier, colder, distracted. You can't always pinpoint it, but you feel it in your bones. You feel it in your chest, like gravity shifting around you, pulling at something that used to be light and effortless. You sense that their attention is divided, and that's when the heartbreak begins, even the betrayal becomes visible. And it's not just about what they're doing. It's about what they're not doing. They stop noticing your small victories, your laughter, your mood swings, your dreams. They forget the little details that used to matter. Their energy is reserved for someone else or somewhere else, leaving only fragments for you. And the thing is, it's painful because it's subtle. You can't accuse energy. You can't prove a shift in presence with words or pictures. You feel it, and that feeling is truth in its purest form. Energy doesn't lie. The way someone carries themselves, even when they say everything is fine, speaks louder than any confession ever could. Your body senses the withdrawal before your mind can rationalize it. Your heart mourns the absence before your brain catches up. That's the power of attention, the power of presence. And when it's missing, when it's diverted, deep down, you always know. So if you pay attention, if you listen to your intuition, if you watch the patterns instead of just the words, you catch it early. You see the distance before it's too late. You feel the divided energy, the absence, the subtle betrayals that can't be hidden by excuses or charm. And that's the hardest lesson. Sometimes love isn't about what they say, it's about where their energy lies, because energy never lies. At the end of the day, truth is felt more than it's seen. The signs are there if you're awake, if you're listening with your heart and not just your eyes. People can hide for a while, mask the cracks, soften the edges, but energy doesn't lie. Trust doesn't bend without leaving a scar, and love doesn't thrive in absence. You feel it in the pauses, in the hesitations, in the way laughter loses its weight and hugs lose their warmth. You feel it in the silence between sentences and in the spaces where attention used to live. And then maybe it hurts, maybe it breaks something in you, but that feeling is your soul's way of speaking. It's telling you to pay attention, to honor yourself, to recognize what's real and what's borrowed. Because love isn't just about words, it isn't just about presence. It's about the energy that someone brings into your life, the way they nurture it, protect it, and give it freely without division. When that energy falters, when it drifts, you feel it in your chest, in your mind, in the quiet corners of your heart. So don't ignore it. Don't rationalize it. Don't pretend it's nothing. Listen to the whispers your heart gives you, because they're louder than any lie, stronger than any excuse. And when you see the signs, when you feel the distance, remember this: your awareness, your intuition, your courage to face it. That's love for yourself. That's strength. That's truth. And in the end, that's what protects your heart from being lost to shadows that were never meant to hold it.